Next, in CSS, we need to understand about one more concept, that is, so how to create responsive designs. So one more important in CSS you need to know is about creating responsive designs, how we can create responsive designs, right? So designing and working with the design. Okay, so we are going to learn about responsive web design. That means how we can create the designs, what we have to use so that they can adapt to different screen resolutions actually. That means when user is watching on a mobile or a tab, it have to fit to that particular device. That is important. So this is nothing but learning about creating a design so that could adapt to different screen resolutions. That is the main concept about responsive design. So that means application can fit onto any device. So that is from a mobile to browser, everywhere. So from a mobile to browser, anywhere it can fit. So actually, to configure responsive design, we need three things. So we need three things. So we need three techniques actually. We need three techniques. To configure responsive design, we need three techniques. So one is we need actually, so what are the options we need is, we need fluid grids. We need fluid grids. And that already we learned, if you remember, by using display grid, we can do that. Already we learned. We need fluid images. Fluid means they will fit according to the device. Fluid images also we know. Fluid images we can get them so by setting the 100%. So that means giving the size in percentages, right? 100% width and all. Fluid grids and fluid images we already learned. So one of the new thing you are going to learn today is media query. How to use these media queries. So that means in modern CSS, by default, the responsive components are columns, flex box, grid. They are responsive designs. That means you should know that in modern CSS, the default responsive components. That means already you learned some responsive components. The default responsive components are three components are there. One is multiple column layout. So another one is flex box. Another one is grid. These all three we have seen how to use them and how to design them. So today we will see what is this media query and how do we use media queries. So media query. Our intention is nothing but we need to create a design that fits on every device correctly. So that means media query allows the developer to configure CSS and apply only when the browser and device environment matches with the media query. That is what actually media query is. That means media query allows developers to configure CSS and apply only when the browser and device environment matches. So, and it should match what matches the given media query. We will write a query. If that query is matching with the browser or device, then it will apply the effects. That's what actually the concept is. So that is what the media queries. We will see how we can write. Actually, media queries are defined. Media queries are defined by using at the net media. They are defined by using at the net media. Syntactically, what it contains is, so it will have at the net media. So we will have a media type. And we usually have media feature rule. So, and feature, right? Media feature rule. And we will apply some CSS rules here. I will explain what is that media type, media feature rule, and how to use them. We will see that. Actually, first one, media type is nothing but first one. So media type. So media type actually, we generally write media type. Yeah. Media type tells the browser what kind of media this code is for. That means like this is for screen, or this is for printing, so, or this is for speech, like this. It will tell the media type actually. So you can define the media types all. You can define print, you can define screen, you can define speech, like this. That is the media type. So for which type of media you are using. Another, we have media feature rule is there. You have to mention media type and media feature rule. Media feature rule is nothing but it is the expression, so which is a rule, or you can say test, that must be passed to define the CSS effect, So that means it specifies the expression. How to write expressions, I will show you now. We will see that. So a set of CSS rules will be applied when test is passed. So the test, so what is the rule to pass the test? We have to tell the rule, media type and media rule. Let's see one simple point we will see. So how we can configure that media and use that media. I will design a simple page here. So I will add media demo.html, media content demo. Okay. Now here, so we are adding some doc type HTML head, and in the title, let's say media. Okay. In the body section, I have some contents. So Amazon shopping, some content is there. So some ordered list or unordered list. So list item, something like electronics, or I will keep some contents. So here, yeah, electronics. So footwear, fashion like this. Footwear like this. Now this is this is how the page looks like. This is normal page design. This is the normal page design. Now here, generally on screen when I am presenting, I can have like shadow, animations, so many effects I can give. But when you try to print this, then immediately problems will come. Printer cannot recognize some animations which are present in your page because it cannot print any moving content or animated contents. Then many times when you print, you will miss a lot of content. So it is not printed properly. So colors will be mismatching because what you see on screen, the same cannot be provided on a printer. That is the reason it's important, especially for developer, to design for different medias, right? While watching on screen, put like this. When printing, then do in another way. For example, you have a hall ticket or a bus ticket or something. So when you are watching on screen, it can have some blinking star saying that, so this is the offer for you. It can have some animations, scrolling titles and all. But when I print that ticket, those all will be missing because those animations printer cannot catch and they can't be printed on your paper. That's the reason you have to design for both. Then how do we write? Generally, we design in the style. Here, I'm defining in the style. I'm configuring at the net media. And first, we need to define the media type. Media type is if it is print. That means if media is print, then what should happen? You write the effects. That means which element, how you want to affect. I want body. Body font family. So I want Arial. Okay, so Arial is the font family. And text align to center, align to center. And font size, so some 16 pixel. And suppose border as 2 pixel solid like this. We want to display something. This is when I'm going to print the page, it should appear like this. It should appear like this. When it is going on screen, that means I will write another media query. Media, this is for screen. If I am going on screen, so then its body should have a different appearance. Body should have a different appearance. That means font family, I will give as cursive font family. And the text align, so I will give as left on screen actually. And so font size, so is some 20 font size. And border as 2 pixel solid red color border like this. And on printing, I want a black color border. So black color border like this. Now when you run this, you can see that this is how it shows on screen. On screen, it looks like this. But when I print it, it will not look like this. So that means if I go to printing options, Control P, printing options, on printing, you can see its appearance is different. Alignment to center. So suppose I'm just keeping this list style as list style, right? So this list style as unstyled, right? So wherever ordered list is there in the printing ordered list, so list style as none. Okay, and you can see that. So this is now when I go to printing, it will not have a ordered list in the printing. It will align, center, and display. That means it will print in a different way. Its fonts also different. It will display in different way. It will display in different way. So that means how you want your page to behave on a printer, on a specific device or specific media, you can control that. That you can define by using the media type. So media type. So this is an example of media type, how you can use the media types, configure the media types. Another important is media rule. Media rule. Media rule, here we have media with media type, and we can have a media rule also. So generally we call them as media feature rules. So we call them as media feature rules. Media feature rules. What are the media feature rules? Media feature rules are nothing but after you specify media type, after you specify media type, you can target. So we can target a media feature with rule, with rule, with a rule. So what is what is the meaning of that? That means the media feature rules actually, media feature rules include options like so width and height. So width and height. It includes options like orientation. It includes option like use of pointing device. Pointing device means like digital pens and all, like. And you can also use logic in media queries. Logic also, like and, or, not, like things we can use logics also in the media queries. That means I will show you. For example, suppose you are watching some website on mobile. When you are watching on mobile, so in a portrait mode you are watching. Suddenly you flipped your mobile to landscape mode. That means you rotated your mobile to landscape mode. Then the website should adjust all its contents to the landscape mode. In a portrait mode, it will show in one style. In a landscape mode, it will show in another style. So these kind of things we need to design actually. That means depending on width and height, depending on orientation, so we can tell how the page should appear. That is what actually media feature is. Let's see what is the media feature and how it actually works. The concept of media feature. So let's see. I will remove this now. Okay. Let's create one simple media feature rule. That means suppose how we can configure with the width and height. So you know that actually width and height so are attributes that define exact width and height of content. So that means these are the attributes that define exact height and width. Actually. Exact height and width. So that is width and height. We have min width, max width. That also I will tell you what is min width, max width. That means here it means that 600 pixel means exactly at 600, at 600. So that means correctly at 600 pixel. That is what actually the option is, width and height is. That means observe here, suppose how we write that. Here I am writing media. Okay, media screen. Okay, screen. And we have to use the keyword end. That means you are targeting the media type and media feature. You have to use the word media. Now media feature is written in a parenthesis. If width is width is 400 pixels, if width is 400 pixels, then what should happen? That means if screen width is 400 pixels, then what should happen? Then background color of my page should turn to yellow. Background color of the page should turn to yellow. That's what I'm defining. So that means which background color? Suppose body. I'm defining body. So body, so background color, so turn to yellow. So if the width is 400, it should turn to this. That's how we have defined. That means exactly when it reaches 400, it will be yellow. So see, observe here. Currently, this is the page. Background is not yellow. Suppose I am restoring it and I am adjusting the width. When I am adjusting the width here, when it reaches the 400 pixels, then exactly when it reaches 400, it should get that yellow color. But exact point I need to hit, if I move more, it cannot get it. It cannot get it. Exact point 400 pixels correctly. So then it can fit and it can access that. It can fit and it can access that. Exact it should give that. For example, normal also I will give. That means without media query, suppose we have body. I'll show you how to keep exact. Body generally background color some light green. The background color is light green. That means by default the background color so of the body is light green. Let's open that. So here open here. By default the body background color is light green. It is light green. But when it reaches 400 pixels, it should turn it to yellow. When it reaches 400 pixels, it should turn it to yellow. At some place it will be. You cannot exactly adjust the point here. Exactly adjust the point here. You can try one thing. So that means what you can do is you can go to the inspect element. In the inspect element, so you can see here. So we have the device toggle device simulation. This is the device simulation. Here the width you can see, this is the width. So 400 is the width for the content. So when we keep the width 400 pixels, that means media is screen and the width is 400 pixels, then the body color should change to this particular option. So it will keep it. That means exact 400 we have to define here. So 400. So and it should fit onto the device with that particular color. That means but here one problem generally we face is browsers generally they cannot depend on exact so specific pixel unit. So some browsers will not support these media queries for exact. That is the reason generally we have to use the combination of min width and max width. So min width, max width is important to understand. So here browsers cannot support the exact width in various media queries are not supported on every browser in the same way. So it is always recommended to use the options min width and max width. That means if minimum width is 400, that means what does the min width means? When min width means up to 400 pixels, it will be yellow. Up to 400 pixels, minimum width up to 400 pixels, it will be yellow. That means here you see currently it is yellow. Because currently it is 400 pixels, it is yellow. And less than 400 also it will be yellow. But after 400 pixels, when I adjust the width, it should change it to green color. That means it should change to green color, or it should put some other color for that. That means we need to define the height width of this and configure it. Now let's see how we can manage that. That means these options, how do we write? So let's see. So how we can write the media queries in the styles? Yeah. So how we can write the media query? Initially, first, what we want is body. Okay, what is the default? So body background color. Suppose I said light green. That means initially you can see at every state body background color is light green. And we need to write a media query. Then we have to use media. So media, we are writing screen. So if media is screen, and and we are configuring the minimum width. So min width. So minimum width. So minimum width. Minimum width is some 400 pixels. Then this should affect the body. So in the body, we need to change. So the body, so background color, we are changing the background color to yellow, something like this we are configuring. That means the background color to yellow if it is minimum 400 pixels. Similarly, you can adjust max width also. So what is width and height? Exact width and height. What is min width and max width? Min width actually. Min width and max width. We have two options. So min width, max width is nothing but actually these are the attributes. So that define the effect. That means attributes define the range of pixels. Actually, min width means width. So we'll define effect up to given pixels, and max width will define effect from given pixels. This is a combination. You need to keep the combination also correct in order to understand that and use it. That means here you see now. So how we configured this. So I am saving this now, the styles, and let's run this and see. So we are accessing this now. So default it is yellow. So that means here you can see body. So background is yellow. So light green. So background is yellow. So min width is this. Now here you are adjusting the width. You can see that now up to 400 pixels. Here it is adjusting this up to 400 pixels. It is green. When I start increasing this, then the color will change now. That means up to 400 pixels, it will be normal. From there, it will be changing the color. That means I'm just changing color. You can change font size. You can change alignments. Because if screen width is adjusted, then according to that, you can keep the content moving above, below, left, right. That means from the top, its margin can be adjusted. Its padding can be adjusted. I'm just showing you color. You can add all attributes accordingly. If this is not min width, if it is max width, then you can see in the opposite way, like it will be green color, but when it reaches 400 and below, it will be yellow color. So that is what actually the option is. So that is the combination, how it applies the color. Means not only color, all effects, colors, alignments, everything you can change. Suppose when it reaches 400, then I want text align to center, text align to center, and you can see it will be center. And I want to change unordered list style, right? So unordered list style to none, and it will remove that. So that means it has to remove that. Unordered list, this is ordered list. Okay, ordered list style to none. It will remove it. When I am adjusting the width now, you can see that it will change the alignments. It will change the alignments, change the colors. So this is how we can make the pages respond according to which device we are using. So how they are managed according to the device, configuring according to the device. So this is the basic approach. So initially, this is very important. So why? Because especially in the modern development, so these responsive designs will play the key role in creating the contents and configuring the contents. You need to correctly understand. So min width, max width, how we can configure and define them, right? So example is this. So how we can define the query. So how we can configure and define the media query. Now, in the media queries, you can have even orientations also. That means you can use orientation. You can use orientation also. Orientation means, so this is allowed only for the devices that can change orientation dynamically. This is allowed only for devices that can change orientation from portrait to landscape. So not all. That means in your laptops, in your computers, so you can test in the debugger. So but if you are using a mobile or tab like device, you can test by changing orientation. Observe here, generally how we write for orientation is so here background is light green. Okay, screen, and here I am writing instead of screen, just media query we are defining. So we are saying that, so if the orientation is landscape, that means media have to use orientation. It has to use orientation landscape. If the orientation is landscape, if the orientation is landscape, that means you changed the orientation, then it will be in this shape. Okay, let's see. Initially, it is normal. So here, landscape, portrait orientation. This is portrait. So when you are changing the orientation to portrait, this is the portrait. So that means here the point is you can try in another way. For example, you go to the inspect, and here you can see here, so rotate is there. This is the design. Suppose I will select here some iPhone. So when I select iPhone, so this is the iPhone screen size it shows here. I change the orientation, rotate, orientation changes. When orientation changes, it becomes landscape. Then it will come with a different color. I click on the button rotate, then it will be portrait, a different effect, and landscape, different effect. That you can test if your device can rotate. So instead of testing here, you can directly test. Suppose I'm using my laptop and I changed the orientation of this device in a vertical way. You can see that when orientation changes, its color changes. I rotated my device and it changes the appearance. and again I am changing into normal, then again it will come into normal. It will come into normal. So it is going to change. It is going to change according to the device orientation. So you can apply effect. So based on orientation, you can configure on orientation. So generally, when you are configuring the effects, media queries are important. And these are how we write the media queries. So media queries are configured with the combinations. So this is to make the pages responsive. If with the majority, we have to write for min width, max width, and we have to write for orientation. Is it horizontal or vertical? Majority of our effects will be concentrating on these 2 points only. That is only very important for responsive designs, creating responsive designs actually. That is what we need to understand here. Right? These are all CSS related, how to deal with the layouts and responsive design. Now, after understanding this, now in CSS, we need to know about another concept, that is CSS 2D transformations, 2D and 3D transforms. How we can handle CSS 2D and 3D transformations. So animations and effects also, because one of the main advantages is actually earlier we have to do that with a lot of JavaScript. But one problem is if JavaScript is disabled on browser, those effects will not work properly. That is one of the major issue we need to face. That is the reason now CSS is making more of the programming also, logically also. So, recently now future, currently it is not available yet. Bootstrap 5 version is coming. You will learn about Bootstrap. In Bootstrap 5, they have almost eliminated jQuery. Earlier, Bootstrap have to use lot of jQuery. Now they say that without jQuery, several animations and effects will work. That is great. So, but it is still not there. It is under just a trial release only. But when it comes, it will make a good revolution in the market, because the point is, without using JavaScript, you can dynamically handle so many things. Earlier problem is JavaScript have to do everything. Due to that, if JavaScript is disabled, it cannot handle the situation. So those effects will not work in the browser. So we have to follow all these things. So initially, so how these 2D, 3D options work in CSS, we will see. Actually, CSS 2D, the main intention is nothing but CSS transforms feature allows the element to be transformed in two-dimensional space, actually two-dimensional space. So two-dimensional space means 2D is along x-axis and y-axis. Along x-axis and y-axis. It is along x-axis and y-axis. Actually, CSS provides transform method, transform property to define transformations. That is important. So let's see how to use this transform. But one problem is CSS transforms are not directly supported on few browsers. That is the reason. So you have to use special plugins. You have to use special plugin for different browsers. So plugin is nothing but a simple simple software, so embedded into browser to handle a specific type of content like video, like audio, like PDF. It is a simple software embedded into the browser. Actually, modern browsers will support, but few old version browsers will not support. In that case, we need to use some additional plugins. Actually, we need to use some additional plugins. We need to work with some additional plugins. Depending on browser, actually the plugins that you have to know for CSS 2D and 3D transformations. So what are the plugins for different browsers? Different plugins are required. What are the plugins? Let's take a note here. The plugins, actually, if you are using the browser, for that we need a specific plugin. If your browser is any among Chrome or Safari or Opera, then you can use a plugin called WebKit. WebKit is the plugin name. WebKit is the plugin name. If you are using Firefox, then you can use Mozilla, MOZ. And if you are using Internet Explorer 9 and higher versions of any other, you can use MS. For all other browsers, you can use WebKit. Actually, for Opera, earlier we have O, but now we generally use these plugins directly. That means actually the standard syntax is like this. Standard syntax is, we write like this: transform, and transform is a property and some transform method. We write some transform method. This is the standard syntax. Actually, this is standard. But several browsers can't recognize that. That is the reason we have to write like this: WebKit transform, and some transform method. This is for Chrome, Safari, Opera like browsers. If you are using Mozilla, then MOZ, you have to write MOZ transform. That is the reason one of the problem here is, so even to write one effect, you have to write 3-4 times the same thing with different plugin names. So that you have to do in real time, actually. Why? Because we don't know which browser user will use, and we need to fit every browser correctly. We don't know which browser he will use. We need to fit every browser correctly. That is the reason we have to use all these. So we need to write all this. Same, we have to write like MS transform and some transform method. So currently, while practicing, you can use the standard, but when you are finally implementing, you have to write all others. These are the various plugins which are very much required, right? Now, what are the various transform methods provided in CSS? We will see them. What are the transform methods provided by them? So we will see. So CSS 2D transform methods. CSS 2D transform methods. What are the methods available? The first important method we have is the transform method is, we have translate. The first important method is translate. Translate is an important method. Actually, translate method is nothing but, technically, translate method, it is used to move the element from its current position to a new position along x and y axis, So syntactically you can write like this. That means syntactically you can define in this way. what you can do is you can write transform, and you can use the method translate, and you can write x-axis position. So you can define x pixels how much, and you can define y pixels how much, or you can give only x-axis or only y-axis. For that you can write like this. So what you can do is you can write translate x. You can use translate x. Translate x will go only x-axis, then only x-axis pixels you have to give. You can also use translate y. It will give only y-axis pixels, then you can give only y. You can configure only specific, only x-axis, only y-axis, you can define that, right? That is translate x, translate y, you can configure and you can use them. That is general, right? So this is translation. And very important is, one of the point is transformation of element, will happen just in 1 second, transformation of element will happen just in 1 second. You can set timing, for transformation. So that means the duration of transformation, by using, you can do that by using transition attribute. So by using transition property. So by using transition property, you can do that. What is transition detailedly in animation also I will show you. Here, observe one option how we are designing. So how we can use this transform, translate options here. I will just keep here as another folder. So CSS 2D. Okay, so here I am adding translate HTML. Okay, let's put some image here. Doc type HTML head, title, translate. And in the body section, we are configuring here. So a image img src is equal to some images, some shoe.jpg. So okay, some width and height, so 100. Okay, now here the image is present here. Okay, now I am writing style and I am configuring here. So image normally, so the options we are defining. So margin left image is 10 pixels. Okay, so that is margin left 10 pixels. That means image will be 10 pixels in the left side. Margin, it is 10 pixels. Okay, now important is now here it is 10 pixels. Fine. Now you can see, so here I want the image to change its position, move it from x-axis, y-axis. Then when to move, on mouse over, I need to move it. Then you have an option, image img.hover. We learnt about this selector. When mouse pointer is hover, then transform its position. How to transform the position? By using translate x. That means you want to move only x-axis. How many pixels? So take it to 400 pixels. That means transform 400 pixels. But see here, when I move the mouse onto it, it will go to that 400 pixels. When I move the mouse, it will go to the 400 pixels directly. And when I come out, it will be normal. In 1 second, it is changing its position. But it has to take some time. Then what we can do is, we will see that we will say that transition, so 2 seconds. That means you can write in seconds or milliseconds. 2 seconds time it should take to go to 400 position. That means to complete the transformation, it should take 2 seconds. Okay. But remember, to get to the final stage, it will take 2 seconds. Again, from final stage, it has to come back to normal state when mouse is out. This is on mouse over. This is on mouse out. First one is. You see now, when I move the mouse onto it, it will take 2 seconds for that. But when I move the mouse out, then immediately it will be very fast. It will be here. You see, it will be very fast. But that also I should delay. Then I can write transition here. Transition here also 2 seconds. You can give different timing. Coming back slowly. That means, okay, then 3 seconds. That means you see now, when I move the mouse onto it, it will go to that location. And when I move the mouse outside it, it will be little bit slower than going forward. This is how it can change the position. Currently you are changing on x-axis. You can translate y-axis. You can translate y-axis. That means it will move towards the down and it will come here. You can define both the translate 400. If I give only one, it will affect for both x and y axis. That means you see it will affect for the x axis. How you can give the y axis? You have to just give a comma and we are defining, suppose, so this is 200 pixel. That means x axis and y axis, and you can see that it will come in that position. That means both x axis and y axis position, it is changing the x and y axis position. That's how it will affect. You can move in any one direction, you can move in the both directions, you can configure in the both directions and define them. So that is how actually translate will work. And very important is, this is fine, this is enough actually. But as I already told you that all browsers can't recognize them, then what you do is you have to write in several ways. So we have to write, so with WebKit. So WebKit is a plugin. WebKit plugin, we have to use transform, and we have to write translate. So 400 pixels and 200 pixels like this. Now important is, so if you give different pixels on that browser, it will affect it. On that browser that will affect. So, but browser dependency issues will be there. So that means actually option is only one. One time is enough, but we don't know which browser he will use. We have to write for all. This is Mozilla transform and translate. So 400 pixels, so and 200 pixels like this. That means the same effect we need to write 3-4 times because we are not sure which browser he will use. So transform again, MS transform. So MS transform, and here also I give translate 400 pixel and 200. So while practicing, you can just try transform. But so you have to write in several, with several plugins to change the position and to configure it. Right? This is, so in the transforms, this is transition. And transition is nothing but, so here we are just transform is nothing but we are just changing the position. Only one position we have changed. Now transform has several options. Transform is not just changing the effect, is not just changing the location. It can rotate, it can change the size, zoom. It can handle so many things. So many important methods are there. This is the translate option. You have another important in the transformation. Instead of translate, we can use here, I am adding one more option. So transform, we can use scale. Scale is used to adjust the size. Scale is used to adjust the size. That means you can adjust the size, you can adjust the height and width, you can change the height and width, so that you can manage by using the scale option. That means by default, so here it is related to height and width. So image, so have width 100 pixels and height normal option, or you can put a transform option also for that. So I will show you how you can keep a transform option for that. Initially this is just transform, and this is the original size actually, and hover I will change it to two times the original size. We are defining 2 times the original size. That means scale 2 times the original size, and you can see on mouse over it will be 2 times the original size. We can keep its position anywhere we want here. So suppose I kept in a div, so and just here we have a box class is equal to box, so we keep that here, okay, and we keep a div inside that box, and here we are writing the option like so box, so justify content center, so align items to center, so center, and margin set to auto. All these options are defined for the content here. Yeah, now how we can adjust that from the center also I will show you. That means how you can manage that from the center also. So text align to center some content, so actually we need width and height also for that. So width is equal to text align not required, we don't have it. Width is equal to some 400 pixels, so and height is equal to 300 pixels. So it depends on how you configured it, right? Yeah, so that means width is suppose 800 pixel, fine. So its width is too much, 400 is okay, fine. Now you move the mouse onto it, you can see, and I just will keep the margin top, I will put some 100 pixel. So we can, just for your visual sake, right, you can see this is changing the size of that image. So you are changing the size of the image. So that is scale. So scale how much? So that means you have to define the scale 3 times. So 3 times the size that is already there, the size will increase. Now when you are defining the scale, so we have the options like we are writing scale X. That means it will affect only the width. Scale X will affect only the width, not height. So and scale Y, it will affect only the height, not both. Then just define the scale. Then it will adjust the both height and width. Suppose I said 3 is the width and 2 is the height. That means it has to adjust accordingly. It should adjust accordingly. You can define different units. But this indicates 3 times. Means it is nothing but the fractions, how many fractions you can configure, right? So this is scale, just like you say translate. So and translate, so here we have the option scale. How do we configure the scale? So just scale is same, so scale is also same. So scale uses the options. That means actually scale is used to, so it is used to change the size of element along X and Y axis, So that means adjust changes the height and width of element. So that's what dynamically it can do. So you have the attributes like we have scale X, we have scale. Scale is the general option available. So we have scale X, that is changing the width. We have scale Y, changing the height. And this is just the example. So you can use this with the scale, or you can use for translate. Generally the same example for translate also. Same example for translate also. Only the point is, so here the same example for translate. Just we need to change that effect here. So just we need to add that additional effect here. So here we will change this transform. This is translate. Translate 300 pixels x-axis and 200 pixels so y-axis. That's how we can change the position. So this is translating, changing the position of them. Now similarly, transform contains several options like rotate. That means instead of scale, you can rotate. You can rotate by specified degrees. Suppose I want to rotate 60 degree, DEG, that is the degree angle. That means on hover, it will rotate to 60 degree. And I want to rotate to 360 degree. So then it will rotate to 360 degree. You can give, this is minus 360 degree, that will go counterclockwise. You can adjust both at a time. That means you can use both. Suppose rotate 360 degree. Not only that, so it has to use transform scale also. So scale also, it will get to 3. So that means what will happen here on mouse over, it will get into this. Now, how do we use combination of both of them? That means currently it is working only scale. So we need to use combination of both, that we call as matrix. I will tell you matrix, how to write. When you write matrix contains the combination of both of them. Currently you are applying this, it will overwrite, it will give only this one. Because you are currently using a shorthand way. If you use a matrix way, you can apply all effects simultaneously. That I will tell you. At the end, we will see about this, because for that we need to learn matrix, right? How to write matrix. You can apply multiple effects. Initially, what is rotate and what is the concept of rotate? How you can manage that rotate. So rotate by specified degrees. You can manage the rotation of that element by specified degrees. Now some more 2D transformations and 3D transformations are there that we'll see in tomorrow's session, right? And tomorrow we can finish this CSS part with 2D, 3D transformations. Then we can start Bootstrap now, working with Bootstrap. So once we start working with Bootstrap, then that makes the presentations more better. Then we can start designing several website layouts now with this knowledge, whatever we learn. So that we'll see in the next session, right? By tomorrow we will complete the CSS part. Okay, right.